Welcome to Health Center. I'm Lorraine Brooks, and I'll be your host for today's show. My guests on today's show represent an organization called the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Metropolitan New York. And what they do, in case you don't know, is they grant wishes to sick children. You know, when an adult becomes ill, we always like to help them get better and do whatever we can to help them through their illness. But when a child becomes ill, it's a special situation, and I think all of our hearts go out to a sick child and the sick child's family. So I invited two people on the show today to talk about the wonderful work that the Make-A-Wish Foundation does with children who are suffering from life-threatening illnesses. My first guest on today's show is Pat Clemency, who's the president and CEO of the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Metropolitan New York. Thank you for being on the show, Pat. Let's take a look at some wishes that have been granted.
Frequently brings about a magical change that can't be described medically or explained scientifically, but it brings about this change in the life of these children, which they remember for years and years to come.
He woke up one morning and basically couldn't move. He was limp, completely limp and immobile. And by that afternoon, he was unable to breathe anymore and was on a respirator. Daniel had Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a paralysis.
We were exhausted and scared and, times terrified that we would lose Daniel.
Daniel is an incredible Beatle maniac. He had an iPod in the hospital, listened to a lot of Beatles music.
Well, I really like the Beatles.
We got this package in the mail that just floored us with color and stars all over it, and it said, "Daniel goes to England." We sat there and we cried as we looked through this.
It was really cool when I got to go to Abbey Road Studios, and I recorded into John Lennon and Paul McCartney's microphone, and I got to play Paul McCartney's piano.
When I watched him singing into that microphone that John and Paul used all the time, and I just cried. It's a feeling I can't explain.
I didn't know about the foundation until last year when I went for a regular checkup for Jaylene, and he said, Make-A-Wish is this foundation who grant wishes for special kids like Jaylene who've been through a lot.
My wish was a new bedroom set. My old bedroom was old, and I wanted a new bed.
When Jaylene was born, she only had one working kidney. Said then with time, the working kidney started to fail, so she was waiting for a transplant.
And everyone was kind of nervous that I was in a hospital.
December 2006, they called me that they found somebody, a match for her. I was so scared.
When I got the surgery, I was kind of nervous that I never had surgery before.
Make-A-Wish came at the right time. So it was like a miracle because she wanted to sleep in a bed like a princess, and she is sleeping like a princess in her bedroom.
I want mermaids all over the ceiling, and my bed is comfortable. And I turn on the Little Mermaid lamp every night, and it's so cool.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the mission statement of the Make-A-Wish Foundation? Because I always thought that it had to be children who had terminal illness, but you're telling me that that's not the case.
It's not the case, Lorraine, and it's probably one of those things that we need to overcome to be able to reach and serve all kids who are truly qualified to have a wish granted through the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
So what qualifies a kid?
Well, our mission is to grant wishes to children who have life-threatening medical conditions. And I think what's happened over the years, Make-A-Wish will be 25 years old in Metro New York next year. And in that time, our mission hasn't changed, but medical advances have. So a child who had leukemia back when Make-A-Wish of Metro New York started, the cure rate was not as hopeful as it is today. And so Make-A-Wish still serves children with leukemia as one example, but more broadly, it is life-threatening medical conditions. It is really the spectrum of illnesses that Make-A-Wish works with.
So how would a child come to your attention if a child had a serious medical condition that qualified them to be a Make-A-Wish child, how would they get to your attention?
There's a lot of different ways in which children can be referred. Most typically, it might be someone at the hospital where the child is being treated. It might be the social worker, the physician, child life specialist, really any one of the medical professionals involved in the child's care. But it could also be a parent or guardian. And in some cases, as the children are older, sometimes it's the child who makes a phone call.
Okay, that's interesting. I have just some material that you gave me beforehand, and I was looking over some of the wishes that you've granted to some of the children, and I just highlighted some of them that popped out at me, because they run the gamut from the very, very simple to the more elaborate and more complicated. For example, one wish for a clarinet, one wish to go to Vietnam, one wish to go on a South African safari, one wish to meet Michael Jordan, one wish for custom golf clubs signed by Tiger Woods, two wishes to go to China. Some of these are very elaborate wishes, and yet you're still able to accomplish that. You must have a terrific staff of people all over the country who are helping you to make these wishes come true, I would imagine.
Well, we actually have a very small staff, but an enormous network of volunteers and supporters all across the country who form a truly amazing network of people and resources. And the thought is, no matter what the wish is, we're going to really do everything we can to make it come true. The way we can do that is to put the word out in that incredible network and find those people and resources. We never know what the next wish is going to be, so we need to know that all of that network is in place, so we never say no to a child.
506 reasons to smile, this says. Does that mean you've granted 506 wishes last year?
Last year we granted 506 wishes, and then in addition to that, we have a second program, a Wish Assist program. 238 children came from around the country and around the world from other Make-A-Wish chapters and affiliates because their wish took place here in New York. And so when you combine those two together, we are granting about one wish every 12 hours all through the year. When you contrast that to almost 25 years ago in our first year, there were 2 wishes for children.
Just 2 wishes in your first year?
Just 2 wishes in the whole first year.
Do you remember what they were, or do you know what they were?
Absolutely. I remember every one of them back then. Because there were only 2, I mean, you do remember each of them vividly. Very first wish was for a little boy who loved the show from that time, the Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay.
He loved everything about the show, and his whole bedroom at home had all of the memorabilia, but he really loved Daisy Duke. And when he went to the hospital, he brought his Dukes of Hazzard bathrobe and slippers and everything else, and it was the one piece of hope that allowed him to imagine the world beyond illness. And so it was a wonderful beginning to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, as luck would have it, and we've seen this so many times in our history. Catherine Bach happened to be in New York, and so the magic began when she walked into his room and simply said, "Hi, Stephen." And there it was, the first wish for Make-A-Wish.
Now, did he know that she was going to appear?
She had no idea. His family obviously had done the referral to Make-A-Wish, but part of the delight is in some cases just dreaming with the child and yet letting it unfold when the wish happens, so that there is a sense not only of the child's satisfaction, but really sheer delight.
That's wonderful. What was the other wish from the first
Trip to Disney
year?
World,
Okay.
which remains our most popular wish. About 40% of our children today dream of a wish to Disney World, but it could be all sorts of different reasons why they go down to Orlando.
Now, what are the criteria for children? Is there an age limit?
There is. We begin at 2.5, and we will grant wishes up until the time the child is 18. We accept a referral to the 18th birthday. Okay. Child must have a life-threatening medical condition. We're all lay people at Make-A-Wish. We don't make those determinations, but the child's doctor must provide the medical authorization. And that beyond that, there's only a couple of other things we ask. One is that the child hasn't had a wish granted before. We want to make sure that the resources are there to grant one really incredible wish for every child who's eligible. And so one wish a child. And then the last thing is that no matter what is thought about, dreamed of for that child, we will grant the child's one special wish. So a lot of people around the child may have ideas about it, but it is really, we want to listen for the wish through the mind and heart of that child.
I have another guest on today's show that you've brought with you, speaking of granting wishes, and his name is Jay Patrick. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you.
You had a brother who was a wish kid. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that? What was your brother's condition?
Sure. My brother, his name was Ryan, and at the age of 16, he was diagnosed with cancer. And that is, obviously a blow to the family. It's very difficult to take that kind of diagnosis, and it was pretty aggressive form of cancer. So at that time, it was kind of the lowest of the low for our family, and which was new to us. We grew up a very, very happy family, a lot of laughter in the house. We grew up watching those goofy 80s movies that kids in the 80s, watched. And so when something like that totally, completely turns your world around and just hits you right over the head, you don't know what to do. You feel powerless, and you feel like there's nothing you can do to make things better. And what Make-A-Wish does is they come into your life at a time when you feel like maybe there is no hope or no joy, and they bring that back. They brought the laughter back into our house at a time when we really needed it.
And I understand this was your twin brother.
Yes.
Correct? What was his wish?
Well, his wish was, he took a while to figure out what his wish was going to be, because the process of deciding what the wish was going to be was so much fun. In fact, that may have been just as fun as the actual wish, because 2 volunteers come into your house and say, whatever you want, wherever you want to go, whoever you want to meet, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to have, the sky's the limit. Your imagination is really the only limit you have. Think big. You can do whatever you want. We'll grant your wish. And that immediately just changed everything for all of us. All of a sudden, the world was ours. At a time when we felt that we could do nothing, all of a sudden we can do anything. That was just an incredible feeling, and it's something I take with me still today, and I will for the rest of my life. And that was almost 15 years ago now. So eventually, he finally decided what he wanted to do. He decided he wanted to meet his favorite comedian, favorite actor, Chevy Chase.
Okay.
The guy whose lines of every movie we knew every line of. So they made it happen. And my brother thought, well, is it really going to happen? And the volunteers, without hesitation, said, absolutely, your wish is granted. It's going to happen. So whenever you're healthy enough to go fly down to LA and meet him, we'll make it happen. And it happened just a couple months later.
So you flew, you and your entire family?
Yep. The Make-A-Wish Foundation includes the entire immediate family, household family, and they include them in the wish.
And so that was you, your brother, your parents, other siblings as well?
My brother and my parents and me.
And you flew from where you lived, which was Oregon, you said?
We lived in Seattle at the time.
Seattle,
Grew up in
okay.
Oregon, and we lived in Seattle. We were in high school, and they make the wish experience incredible. It's the extra details that make it feel so special. They make you feel like a superstar. They pick you up in a limo, and a lot of times I've heard from other wish kids that sometimes it's the most fun part of the whole experience, because I had never been in a limo. A lot of wish kids never had. Pick us up in a limo, they fly us down to LA, put us in a beautiful hotel, give us transportation to the show that Chevy Chase had at the time, which
show was that?
The Chevy Chase show, the talk show.
It was a talk show,
yeah,
right? Okay.
Lasted about 5 weeks. I'm sure you remember.
Who else was a guest on that particular show? Do you remember?
That day, the guest was Martin Short.
Okay.
Who was, of course, another one of our favorites.
Okay.
And
so you really hit the jackpot.
We really did.
Did you get to meet Martin Short as well?
We were able to meet them after the show. They were backstage, so we met them together. And I have a picture that I carry with me every day. It's on my desk at work, and it's a picture of Martin Short and Chevy Chase and my brother Ryan. I call that picture the Three Amigos.
So there's a play on the Three Amigos. Wasn't Martin
movie.
Short was in the Three?
Yeah.
Was in the Three Amigos.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember that. How did you feel as a sibling of a child that was granted a wish?
I felt like my wish was coming true too. Not just because we were both fans of Chevy Chase, but because I just wanted to make my brother laugh again. It was a time when I felt so frustrated and so powerless, because it was the only time in my life where I was not able to make him laugh. And that was really my entire goal growing up. I just want to make my brother laugh. I want to make my parents laugh, and that's what life was all about. So when that all of a sudden stops, that I didn't know how to deal with it. So they brought that back, and so I felt like my wish was being granted too.
How long did you, well, I'm just going to ask you more about the wish because
Sure.
it's so cool. So you went to Chevy Chase's show by limo. You saw the show being taped.
Yep.
Then you went backstage afterwards and you actually met him.
Yep.
How was that? I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm like, oh, I'm speechless, and it wasn't even me who did it.
It was so much fun, and now that I've heard a lot of stories about a lot of wishes, and I met a lot of wish kids, and I've seen some of the photographs, and I think back on that day, and I think that sometimes sometimes you think, well, it's not as easy for the celebrity as you may think when you're a kid meeting him. He seemed like a little nervous at first, but then we started cracking him up. He started cracking us up with some of the lines from some of his movies.
How long did you spend with him? How much time?
Spent probably a good half an hour with him after the show, just hanging out with him and Martin Short, and just kind of cracking each other up, just having a lot of fun.
How did your brother feel after that? You talked to him about it?
He felt totally empowered. He just felt like he was on cloud nine. He was just big smile on his face for the rest of the week, really. And we would think back and reflect on that day a lot, almost daily, probably.
How long after that did your brother pass away?
Well, he actually was. The diagnosis was pretty aggressive. He was only supposed to survive about a year and a half, and he ended up surviving another 4.5 years. He was able to join me in college the next year.
Oh, wonderful.
Have a ton of fun there, and meet a lot of new great friends through the college experience. And I really believe that the wish had so much to do with that. It's really something that provides something that medicine can't. Brings back the positivity, gives you a positive attitude. It helps you get so much out of life and appreciate the finer things in life.
Well, they say that laughter and good feelings are very therapeutic, no matter what your condition is. So you're a living witness to the fact that is in fact true. I want to get back to Pat for a moment and just talk a little bit more about the foundation itself. Thank you so much, Jay, for your honesty. New York has a chapter, but there are chapter affiliates all over the country
and all over the world.
Internationally as well. How many chapters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation are there?
There are 67 chapters all across the country, so every part of the United States is covered by a chapter.
Okay.
In addition, 27 international affiliates. And we love that network because no matter where we have a child who wants a travel wish, there's always a friendly face at the other end.
Now, a travel wish, I would imagine that many of your wishes, you said Disney World or Disneyland?
Both.
Okay. Is your most popular destination. Where are some of the other exotic places that people have traveled to as a result?
If a child can dream it, we've probably had the request. We have done family reunions, orchestrating it in far-flung places. China, Ethiopia at one point, to reunite a twin with her sister who was here for medical treatment. Just really interesting places, and sometimes it's just another part of the United States where the child traditionally traveled to meet relatives but now was too sick to make that trip, and we need to bring the relatives here. So that's one part of it. Sometimes a child can simply describe what they would like to do and have no idea what they're requesting. And we had a little boy who just was very disappointed by the snow we had in New York. And so he wanted to go someplace that he said, I don't know where it is, but I can describe it.
Okay.
And so we said, fine. And we wouldn't presume to read into the mind of a 5-year-old where this destination is. He said the snow had to be taller than he was, and there had to be an old-fashioned sleigh driven by reindeer when he got there. Then he would know that he was on his wish. And, those kinds of things come from the imagination of a child. You can't make this up.
How do you get a sleigh driven by reindeer? I mean...
it was a little tough, actually,
yeah,
and found a little town in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, 100 people in that town.
And they had a sleigh.
The sleigh with
the
sleigh and the reindeer had to be together. That was, the package deal was kind of the thing that we had a little bit of trouble orchestrating. And what we've seen so many times, we saw it this year with a little boy who wanted to be a paleontologist. It takes a whole community to grant a wish.
When he woke up in the middle of the night, he turned out to be swollen. You know, what he has is nephrotic syndrome.
When we got the diagnosis, to us, it was very, it was a little shocking.
You know, you make changes in your life, and my husband and I, we say, if Andrew's going to go through it, we're all going to go through it, and we're going to do it together.
Well, my son's wish was to be a paleontologist.
I wish I could be a pilot like Daddy. He always goes to the Air Force, but I like to be a paleontologist better.
When he found out that he was going to dig for dinosaur bones and meet with a real-life paleontologist, he was just ecstatic.
I like dinosaurs a lot.
We went to Montana, to Glendive. That is the town where they have found many T-Rexes.
Jerry found a T-Rex tooth stuck on a Triceratops. That means the T-Rex was eating the Triceratops. Awesome, man.
Make-A-Wish has been such an important part of our family. They were the first people to really give an opportunity to my son to have his dreams come true.
But no matter where we reach out, that community mobilizes to make that happen. And so whether it's seeing big snow for the first time, or wanting to be a paleontologist and going on a dinosaur dig, people are mobilized around the country and unified in the belief that this is really important work that we could do for kids at a time when they're facing a pretty difficult battle.
So you did the sleigh thing?
Did
you?
The sleigh thing. And I think the best thing was his parents said after the wish, what they loved the most was not even the friendliness of the people who were incredible or the destination, but when they look back on it, remembering that for an entire week, nobody in the family thought about the fact that Scott was sick.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
When we talk to doctors today, a lot of them, after 25 years of history in Metro New York, will say that they have understood that now Make-A-Wish is really part of total patient care.
That's wonderful. Congratulations to you for making those inroads, because the work you do is just so incredibly important. And people who have used your services often come back and become employees, as in Jay's case. What do you do for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Jay?
Well, right now I'm the Director of Corporate Alliances for Make-A-Wish Foundation of Metro New York, and I was a longtime volunteer, and I think it's very common for wish kids or wish families to get involved immediately after the wish, because natural reaction is you want to help other families experience that hope and joy that we did. A lot of our volunteers are former wish kids or families. A lot of our employees are former volunteers. And because I wanted to get involved and stay involved, I actually, wherever I moved across the country, I got involved with that local Make-A-Wish chapter. And when I moved to New York in 2001, actually the day after I moved to New York, I met with Pat and said, I want to get involved somehow, however I can. And then I was really just starting my nonprofit career at that point, and I stayed involved and was a volunteer for a while, would tell my brother's story wherever I could to help encourage people to get involved or to donate. And eventually the opportunity came up to join the team, and that was a great thrill. So I've been involved now for just over a year on staff.
Good for you. Wonderful. Well, I know that there are many ways of giving to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. We here at Downstate Medical Center have a corporate giving program that we call SEFA, which stands for State Employees Federated Appeal, and Make-A-Wish Foundation is one of the list of agencies that employees here can donate to. But are there any other ways that people can give to your organization?
There are many ways, and I think the overriding message always, Lorraine, is that everybody has the power to make a wish come true. Everybody. And they can do it in many different ways. What you mentioned, the SEFA campaign, is one very nice example. But even being the eyes and ears for Make-A-Wish into the community, and really letting us know if they were aware of a child who was medically eligible that we may not have learned about. I mean, that's an extraordinary piece of what we need people to do.
Is there a phone number or a website where people can get in touch with you?
The website is www.metrony.wish.org, and our phone number is 212-505-WISH.
Thank you so much, Pat, for being on today's show. And thank you so much, Jay, also for being on today's show. I've learned a great deal, and I hope we've educated our audience as well, and you'll be getting some more phone calls from people who need your services or would like to make donations. Thank you so much for watching Health Center.
Hello, Tony, and the other people at Make-A-Wish. I had fun dancing with you all. Thank you for caring about me. Make-A-Wish is the best. Love, Tamina.
Thank you so much for all your support for Make-A-Wish Kids. It makes such a difference when times are tough. Love, Samantha.
Dear Make-A-Wish, thank you for the great trip to California. I went on Space Mountain 20 times. Thank you for everything. I feel very special. I'll always remember this trip. Love, Ty.
Everyone has the power to make a difference in the life of a child, whether as a volunteer, whether as a donor. Everyone has the power, really, in their own life to make children's wishes come true.